Hey everybody, Chef Vince here at Pritikin in Miami. Today I'm going to show you how to make our 4 top favorite healthy Thanksgiving recipes. We're going to do stuffing muffins, we're going to do sweet potato mash, we're going to turn a classic mashed potatoes into roasted corn mashed potatoes by using our roasted corn dip. Stay tuned, there's lots of healthy stuff inside. Check it out. Kara, what are we talking about?
We are talking about Thanksgiving. Who's prepping out there?
Who's prepping already? Well,
I know you
not
are.
just yet, but we have lots of things that we're already considering making here for our next Thanksgiving in a week. And here's lots of side dishes that people are going to kind of crave and want to see, but we're going to make them in healthier ways. We're going to make some stuffing. We're going to make some roasted corn dip. We'll turn that into also corn mashed potatoes. And then we'll make some sweet potato mash as well, all in a healthier way, not the unhealthy traditional way. So let's get started.
Absolutely.
First things first, I have some corn here. Now, people always have this misnomer that corn's not healthy for you, but you can tell us that. What's the benefits?
Okay. Benefits of corn. Number one, corn is whole. It grows in the ground, and that's how we eat it. That's what our body likes. Number two, corn is watery and fibrous. Water and fiber equals satiety. It fills us up more.
Just eating it like we're going to do here, right off the cob, is a great way to eat the corn. If you've never had it this way, I strongly encourage you to just take some corn like I just did, put it on a tray, roast it at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes, and at the end, you can just go ahead and see what you have here. This has already been cooked, and now it's cooling down, but that's what it's gonna look like. You do not need to soak the corn at all, unless you're putting it on an open fire grill. You would need to soak the corn then, because if not, the husk would just kind of just burn up.
Right.
In the oven, take your corn from the fridge, put it in the oven, about 25 minutes, let it cool down. You have nice, delicious corn. We'll go back to that in just a little bit. We have some potatoes here.
Potatoes.
These are just Idaho russet potatoes, right? I went ahead and just peeled these already and chopped them up in small pieces so that way they'll cook faster. Now, if you want to leave the skin on, I like to leave the skin on for mashed potatoes for like Yukon Golds and Red Bliss. I think the skin of the russet can be a little bit more tough in a mash, but it's all good if you keep the skin on, right? So obviously the skin has more nutrient benefits and
fiber.
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 All right,
which is good.
So for this here, we're going to turn this up on high. Anything that's, in my opinion, grown underground, like potatoes, root vegetables, ideally start them in cold water. They'll heat up and cook more evenly this way, right? If you start these in boiling hot water, what's going to happen is they'll cook from the outside in and not from the inside out. And if you start them in cold water, they'll cook from the inside out and they'll cook more evenly that way. So that's what I always recommend here. So we'll turn that up on high. We'll go back to that. Here I have a saute pan getting hot. This is going to be for my stuffing. Right? So my stuffing is going to be consisting of this particular bread here. This is one that we like to use.
This is what we use here at Pritikin. And one of the reasons why we like the osuri bread, number one is it actually tastes pretty good. That's super important.
I love it.
And health-wise, it's 100% whole grain. So although it's slightly processed because bread doesn't grow in the ground, it does maintain all of the nutrients that it started out with. So one really important thing that you want to focus on when you're buying your breads is that it does say the word whole. If it just says wheat, it is not whole. It is processed and more refined. But if it says the word whole, you know that it has all of the nutrients in there. And the other thing that's great about this product as well is it's not loaded with sodium. Weirdly enough, a lot of breads, they just add a lot of sodium to it. Yeah. So you got to really be careful and take a look at the sodium. And one little rule of thumb when you're looking at sodium as compared to calories is you want the sodium to be as close in number to the calories as possible. So this particular one has 100 calories and 130 grams of sodium. 130 milligrams of sodium. So that's pretty good because a lot of breads that I see are way higher than that. So if sodium is an issue for you, make sure you check that on the bread.
And another bread you can use is this other one that we like to use as a gluten-free bread. This is
it's sprouted. Sprouted is important. It's less processed and less refined. One of the things we want to be careful of with gluten-free though is it's not very fibrous. So if you have gluten sensitivity, this is a great option. But if you don't have a gluten sensitivity, I would probably go with the 100% whole grain.
All right, folks, so what we're doing here next is we're going to saute some vegetables and some aromatics for our stuffing. So I have a saute pan over there getting hot. I chopped up one onion fine. I'm taking some celery. What I did was I cut the whole stalk in half and then cut that down into just, a little bit more of a more narrower length there. So about almost in quarters essentially. and then we'll line that up here, and we'll cut these down, always rocking the knife forward here, using my knuckles as kind of a guide. And this way here, I can get a nice consistency as I'm chopping through here. Don't pull the knife like this. If you constantly just start pulling the knife, you start pulling the food away from the pile, and you start kind of really slowing yourself down, as opposed to rocking the knife forward, rocking the knife forward. I see you grooving over here, Karen.
You got me in the groove. It's like meditating as I'm watching you do this.
So if you want to throw other vegetables in here, peppers, carrots, whatever else you maybe wanted to use, maybe even a little bit of ginger, kind of change that whole profile up a lot.
I like the ginger.
It's good stuff. But you can use leeks, you can use shallots, you use whatever, even fennel, right?
Yep.
So that pan's hot. That's kind of where I want to be at, though, because once I put these onions into there, you're going to drop the temperature down. These are just one yellow onion. I want to put the onion in first before I put the celery. And even if I put other things, maybe I'll put mushrooms or something, let the onions go a little bit by themselves. If you notice what I sprayed in there, was this some Pam? This is a high heat Pam. This is a commercial large can version of it. It says high heat for baking, but usually at a grocery store, you'll find high heat grilling pan, which is equally as good. And the benefit is that you can get the pan hot with just that little bit of smoke coming off there. Whereas if I was to put a oil that has a very low smoke point, like olive oil or butter, it's going to smoke up a lot, right? And we don't really want to use any oil. Just to kind of show really how hot the pan is, the key here is putting a lid over the pan, right? By putting a lid over the pan, look at the moisture is trapping on that lid already. You're staying in the pan, right? And that's falling back down into the pan. And these onions are caramelizing, not sticking in the first 60 seconds already. So let's put the celery in here next.
What's so great about putting this on top is that you're creating that moisture and caramelization without using any fat whatsoever.
Exactly. Most people are going to
And salt, by the way. Every time I see a cooking show, when they put the onions in the pan, they're loading it up with the salt. We are not doing that today, but we are creating some awesome flavor.
Most chefs load the salt in everything they can,
Every step along the way.
That's what we do not do. Now we may use things that have some sodium in there. Like we never use salt directly, but we'll use things like this chicken broth that has a little trace amount of sodium in there. Per cup, most of them are about 130 milligrams of sodium that we're using here. Whether you want to use a vegetable broth or want to use a chicken broth, for this recipe, I like to use a chicken broth for the stuffing because you're serving it usually with turkey and it kind of just complements that flavor nicely. Whether you want to use the brand I have here from Kettle on Fire, Imagine, Pacific. There's lots of good brands out there. My personal favorite that I recently just discovered is this one here called Zoop.
Oh, right. You showed me that one.
So this one here is in a glass jar, so be careful. But usually it looks like a little more high quality, right? Got caught my attention when they put it in a glass jar. But it actually, the marketing, right? But it actually worked because I bought it, and I'll tell you what, it's probably the most flavorful chicken broth, low sodium especially, that I've ever tried. This has a lot of flavor.
One other thing I wanted to add, when you are looking for broths at the grocery store, it's really important that you see either no sodium added or low sodium in the front. That will give you a very good clue. If it doesn't have that, it's probably loaded with sodium. So that's just a good clue to what you're looking for when you go to the grocery store. And the other thing that I wanted to let you all know is that broths, because they have a lot of different herbs and spices and things like that, they have what's called naturally occurring sodium. So you might see that there's sodium in it, but if there's no sodium in the ingredients, that means all of the sodium in the broth is naturally occurring, which, by the way, our bodies do need some sodium, right? For our heart to pump properly. It's important, but we don't need as much as we normally get. So
our daily recommendation is what?
About 12 to 1,500 milligrams a day. But while you're here at Pritikin, without adding a stitch of salt to anything, you're actually getting somewhere between 1,100 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium a day, all naturally occurring in the diet. And on average, people probably get about 6,000 milligrams a day.
Yeah, before coming here. You might
without using a salt shaker, by the way.
You might get that at an appetizer at a restaurant sometimes.
Exactly.
Honestly.
It's crazy.
So if you notice what I did was I deglazed the pan a little bit. I used a little bit of this broth in here just to kind of pull off some of that caramelization that was occurring. I want to now add the garlic. If you're some person buying whole cloves of garlic and peeling them, I feel bad for you, right? That is a lot of work, and I wouldn't even want to use the garlic at that point. I'm actually going to spread this out a little bit more. I'm not going to buy pre-minced garlic, however, but I would buy pre-peeled garlic, right?
Oh, the one that's already peeled.
Already peeled. By putting that little bit of broth, you're allowing to kind of imitate the oil again, and it allows all the garlic to kind of
beautifully.
Disperse. Let all that broth evaporate out. Everything's kind of spread back out. We'll let this kind of caramelize a little bit more. We'll go back to it in a sec. So these potatoes are slowly coming up to a boil. Might transfer them into a little bit of a larger burner to kind of speed that up.
Quick question, Chef. How long did you leave them soaking in the cold water before you started heating it
I
up?
could have did it right away. I just had them ready to go. But you can go overnight, 2 days, even 3 days from when you peeled them. You can stay in the fridge. So meal prepping is a lot, especially if you're doing a big dinner like Thanksgiving. Anything you can do ahead of time, chopping vegetables, marinating things, even roasting the sweet potatoes a day in advance. Like I have here,
so they're ready to
cut that
rock
off
and
the
roll.
list. You know what I mean? There's things that you can do ahead of time where you're not doing everything day of.
Less stressful. Less stressful.
Especially if you're one of those people who serve your Thanksgiving dinner at lunchtime. You're like cramming in the kitchen since 6 in the morning. This is my mother. All right, so these potatoes are slowly coming up to a boil. I put them to a higher burner. With electric, you're kind of at the mercy of how effective they are, which, whatever. Gas is always better.
You prefer gas, yes.
Yeah. Induction is okay. Electric is okay. Gas is the best. So you see a little bit of kind of sticking going on here.
I see that.
Let that happen because I want this to happen.
Getting a facial at the same time.
It's a culinary facial. That's what we call this. So let that go. Cover back up. Now again, this bread, all I did was I take this these little cubes. I took this and I chopped this up.
The Osary bread.
Yeah, the Osary bread. This is the Osary bakery bread. And I went ahead and sprayed this tray, chopped this up, toasted this 400 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. Basically what you're looking for is this, right? You're turning them into crispy croutons, right? Exactly.
I wish you guys could smell what's going on here. It's making me really hungry, actually.
Well, we're going to be eating soon, Kara.
Okay, good.
So you see this part of the pan is getting a little dark right there, right? You don't want to get that black, right? Because you're going to get more of a bitter flavor if that gets too dark. So here's a great opportunity to go ahead and deglaze the pan again by adding more broth. I can go ahead and repeat this process a few more times if I wanted to get a really caramelized onion, garlic, and celery. But this is good, right? Just getting it to this stage at least is going to give you a lot of flavor. But like I said, repeating this maybe 1 or 2 more times, letting it all kind of come off the pan's clean again. Everything can caramelize once again even further. You know what? I might do it one more time.
One more time.
Let's do
Third
it.
time's a charm. Yeah.
we got to chop up some herbs anyway, so let's do that. So, do you know what all these herbs are, Kara?
Let's see. I see chives. I see rosemary. Thyme.
Yep.
I don't know what that one is.
There's oregano.
Oregano.
That's my British
Oregano.
accent. Oregano, yeah.
Cheerio. Sage.
And sage, correct. Some people think they can only use sage in November because it's like a Thanksgiving only herb, but use this all year long. It works great for anything. Use this for chicken, use this for soups, use this for potatoes. It's a great vegetable to use, or great herb, to use.
And herbs, by the way, are really good for you as well. Lots of health benefits, antibacterial, antioxidant, also great flavor, so we don't have to use the salt, right?
Correct. Any way to get the salt out of there.
The fresher, the stronger the flavor. Would you agree? As opposed to the dried.
If you're using dry, dry is more like a concentrated version of the fresh. So the thing is, some dry herbs don't really come back to life as well, right? I mean, I prefer fresh sage and fresh rosemary and fresh thyme always over the dry. If I had to use dry oregano, it would be okay. Some things are better, almost anything is better fresh, but some things are okay dry. But you have to always expose dry herbs to some sort of heat or acidity to kind of bring flavor out of them, right? If I was to just take some, freeze-dried chives, for instance, and then whisk them in the sour cream, I don't really get much flavor.
Right.
I take fresh chives and put them in sour cream.
That's where the flavor's
that's
at.
where you're at. Usually during the holidays, you can always get all these fresh herbs. And then even throughout the year, you can get them usually in those little small packages in the salad section. So real quick, I want to show you, right here. I won't burn you, Kara. But check this out here,
Oh
right?
my God.
Caramelized again a little bit to the pan. I'm going to deglaze what you see in the pan. I'm going to go ahead and add what I have there and show you what the remainder of the pan. That's a lot of flavor there, right? So
You got to get that out.
Get that out,
Get
right?
that out.
Not only is it going to clean your pan for you, but it's going to give you a lot of flavor all in the same process. So pull that off. All that's going to go right into there, and we're going to turn that burner off.
And just think about how much oil you would have normally used to get all that off, but you're not using oil, you're using broth. 0 calories, guys. So we're making a low calorie, awesome stuffing.
Yes.
With 100% whole wheat bread.
And I didn't get to the best part. We're actually going to use this and cook this very quickly, not in a big casserole pan, but we're going to go ahead and use a stuffing muffins, actually. We're gonna go back to here and stir this up a little bit. We need to add a little bit more broth. We need to add our egg beaters. What I wanna do is kind of cool this down though, right? Everything's still very hot. The bread will start absorbing the heat out of what I have here. We'll go back there in just a second. Kara, my dear, please.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my sous, whatever. This is my sous chef's job. As you see, it's very tedious, right? So.
I got this. Just, aren't there little tools for this that you can get?
So in a soup, what I would do is take this and wrap butcher's twine around the whole entire thing. And then put it in the soup.
Yeah.
All the leaves kind of fall off. You fish out the stems that are wrapped around with the twine at the end. But if you're putting it in a stuffing, you kind of have to just be like, really just little by little.
All right, I'm gonna help you out, chef. I'm gonna help you out.
Much easier to do, much big sprigs of rosemary are easier. So pulling them down, but the time is very time consuming to do.
Ha ha ha.
So try to avoid these stems here. Come on. Come on, chef.
All right. I'm trying to hurry. We only got so much time here.
Look how kind of fibrous they are. We're about the fiber here.
Yeah, the fiber is good.
Yeah, not the branch of
Gets
time.
the cholesterol out.
So all these fresh herbs we're going to take here, we're going to chop them up. If you notice, the other knife I was using is a serrated knife. I don't like to use this for chopping up herbs when I'm going to put my hand on the back of the knife like this. But for everything else, like rocking the knife forward, it's a great, unique knife to use. But if you're using it to chop up herbs, going up and down, you're going to have gaps in those teeth there. So rather use a chef knife here. Sorry, man. What I like to do here is I'll bunch this up all together.
One more.
Thank you.
Okay.
So bunch it up all together in a tight little ball here. My potatoes are now
boiling.
Finally. So probably about maybe in that size there, that's probably going to take another maybe 10 minutes at least. We'll check them in 10. We might have to go a little longer. So kind of bunch up the herbs as much as you can there. That way your first pass around, you're getting them pretty chopped up. And make sure what you're adding into here, again, is a healthy component, right? Some people put all types of bad stuff into their stuffing. I won't name those bad things, but you can kind of use your imagination. You know, sometimes they put bacon in bad things or olives or whatever.
And by the way, as you're chopping those herbs and you're releasing the oils in them and the smell is coming out and all the health benefits are being released as you're chopping them up.
It's a great amount of flavor. And like you said, the health benefits are. We're going to have this go ahead and give this a quick stir. Kara, could you please add a little bit more broth into here for me?
Yes, sir.
A little bit more. Cool. All right. So that's looking good. I need to add a little bit of egg beaters into here as well. Just making sure that this isn't hot at all. I don't want to cook the egg when it's going into here. I like to use a pair of gloves and just kind of get your hands in there, kind of mash up some of those harder chunks of bread, right?
Is there a texture or a feel that you're looking for to know how much
kind of
of
where I can almost kind of bind it like that, right? If I can't bind it like this, it's not really going to hold together. And here I don't even have the egg in there yet, but it's going to go in here next.
It's got to wet it up.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't want dry stuffing.
Some people also put hard-boiled eggs into their stuffing. You know, something you obviously don't want to do unless you're using. You have maybe no issues with cholesterol. Maybe a yolk here or there is not the end of the world. But something we don't really use here is the yolk. We tend to try to use more of the egg whites. So if you want to bake some egg whites and chop them up and throw them in here to kind of imitate that, that would be okay. That would be a good alternative.
And in terms of calories, like if you're trying to watch calories a little bit because weight loss is your goal, just know that an egg white is about 16 calories and 4 grams of protein. An entire egg is 70 calories and about 7 grams of protein. So think about all the calories you're saving by using the egg white, the egg white, and you're still going to get the same effect of what you need. Yeah. So any way you could kind of shave it down a little bit really does make a difference.
Absolutely. So here I'm actually going to use egg beaters. This is a commercial version of egg beaters, but normally just the brand egg beaters is what we like to use here for binding things and breading things. Of course, egg beaters are 99% egg whites, but the other 1% really comes into play, especially when you're trying to bind things and bread things together. It tends to kind of hold more. The 1% is a little bit of xanthan gum. We use xanthan gum here to make it, our dressings thick. This product here is made to look more like a whole cracked egg.
It totally looks like an egg.
Looks like a whole cracked egg there, as if there was yolk. But if you look at the back, it says 99% egg whites. The 1% is a little bit of beta carotene to make it look like there's actual yolk in there.
The coloring.
So some people just kind of deceive their brain, make them kind of to get it to try
it.
But
works.
It really does work.
The guests tell me all the time, I love those egg beaters. It's just like eating eggs. And I'm like, yep, that's the whole point.
Yeah. Give me a little more splash of that broth in there.
You got it.
Then we're going to just mash it up in my hands here. That's good. Perfect. All right. So what we're going to use here, could you show everyone those ice cream scoops? This is our
so many
selection that we
shapes
use
and
in the back.
sizes here and colors.
Our rainbow of ice cream scoops. Now,
Love it.
you may not need every single size I have here,
Yeah, what
but we
size
do
we
use
using?
them. Probably this green one. This is what we use to portion out our veggie burgers, our other things like our broccoli quinoa burgers. We use this one here for meatballs. We use this one here for crab cakes. You know, putting our bean burrito filling into the burrito. We use this one. This gives you everything much quicker, efficient portion control.
And everything's the same size.
Everything's the same size. Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So real quick, we'll just mash this up a little bit here. And could you take some of those aluminum ramekins there, and we'll put them right on that tray there.
You got it.
Now, if you don't want to use these aluminum pans, and you might want to try using something like this, you know, something that's okay. Anything that's heat-proof that can go into the oven, right? These particularly that we have here can both go in the oven. You know, these dishes I have over here cannot go in the oven. You know, you usually have to just look up the product and see if it can go in the oven or not when you're buying it. These obviously can go in the oven, but they'll pop right out as well. If you want to use like a little, you know, maybe just a full cupcake pan you have already, that's cool. That's good
Right,
too.
exactly.
Right? Can you put some spray in here for me?
Yeah. So if you don't want to do a lot of cleanup, use these guys, right?
Correct. Yeah. All right. So see what you did here?
What did I
Let
do?
me show you. I knew you were going to do that. You sprayed only in the bottom, right? When
Right.
you're doing
I'm
it, you
trying to
gotta-
go light on
you
it.
got- I know, but you got to go like this a little bit, right?
Oh.
If you don't turn your wrist, you're
Not
not going to
gonna,
get this
some
out.
of it's going to stick.
And you can't get it out, right? So what's the point of doing this if you can't get it out? So those potatoes are still boiling over there. We're going to go back to those in a second here. That's just kind of the texture I'm looking for here now. It's still a little wet, and as it cooks, it's going to start kind of drying out. Of course, it's still wet because there's eggs in there. Everything will start kind of coming together. We'll portion this right into here, and we'll kind of smash that down. We'll get these into the oven at 400 degrees. You know, so if you're trying to kind of save some time, these are a great way to do that because, you know, as opposed to a big casserole pan, which is going to take you,
longer.
a lot longer, probably triple the amount of time here to really cook through. Here you get more portion control, you get everything to cook faster, and you get more crispier edges to that stuffing as well, which I kind of like, you know. So, you know, whatever you like to do, but, you know, putting them in little muffin pans, and we call them stuffing muffins, I think it's a great way to do this.
I think it's a great idea all around for all of the reasons you just said.
Whether you want to do this with muffins or do this, you know, or do this with stuffing or do this with like your sweet potato casserole.
And like the little egg muffins we make here as well.
That's what we do them with, correct. All right, so I think that's good. Let's just go ahead and we'll get this into the oven here now. I'm going to smash these down a little bit here. Perfect. So our corn is still in the oven, actually.
How long are we cooking the corn? Like 20 minutes?
25 minutes at 400 is where I went ahead and cooked this, and that's usually what we advise people to do. I'm actually going to put this in the bottom oven, just so I don't overcrowd the top oven. I'm going to crank this up even a little bit higher.
We're at 450.
We're at 450 right now, right? And I really want to cook this, you know, where I'd rather get a little color on there, more color than I wanted, where I can lower the temperature if I needed to, if it's not cooked through all the way. But I don't want to cook it so long on a low temperature where it's going to dry out and never actually develop any sort of, you know, color on top or crispiness to it. So if you want to go 400, 425, 450.
You just kind of play. You got to know your oven.
Yeah.
You got to know your oven.
And I know this oven, so 450 is the
You
way
guys
to
are
go
friends,
on this oven. So let's check these potatoes here real quickly. What I can do is grab a pair of tongs. We'll give it a little, pick up one of the larger ones. We'll smash it. It's not ready yet. You know, if you put a little pressure, it doesn't really break apart. It's not really ready.
Want it a little more soft. Yeah.
Correct. So the stuffing muffins are in the oven. Let's go ahead and make the sweet potato mash here now. These sweet potatoes, we use a foil sheet. If you can't find this, look on a vendor called webstaurantstore.com. It's just like restaurant, but webstaurantstore.com. They have all types of cool stuff. These pots, these pans, these pans here, parchment paper, foil sheets, right? If you're buying a big roll of foil and you're constantly trying to cut it, and you know these come like a 500.
The sheets,
just,
yeah.
You pull them out.
Costco
you know.
too.
Yeah,
I
and
go
you
to
can get them
Costco.
other places,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you, Webstaurant has a ton of stuff you can find useful.
All right, I'm going to try that. Costco's been where I've been getting my foil sheets.
So what we're going to do to these potatoes here is we're actually going to whip them up. Now this is a food processor. This is a blender. Food processor, blender. Blenders usually need a good amount of liquid to pull things down. This is a pretty unique blender in that it has a staggering blades, whereas most blenders only have those two sets of blades and one set of blade on the bottom. This has three sets of blades kind of staggering up the stem. We're going to take this sweet potato and we'll mash this up in here. We're going to add a little tiny bit of low-fat cream cheese in here, and that's it. If you want to add cinnamon, if you want to add allspice, nutmeg, clove, just kind of giving you the general concept though, you know, you can take this sweet potato. All we did here was we washed it and wrap it in foil while it's still like soaking wet, like dripping wet. That way you're trapping in even more moisture. It helps it steam and cook a little bit more evenly in the oven. Don't buy candied yams, right? You're not gonna get this nice caramelization if you microwave a sweet potato. You're not gonna get it if you buy candied yams either, especially, which are gonna be, quality-wise not as good. Plus, it's gonna be nutritional-wise, probably have some sort of added sugar sometimes, or even salt. So these are just fresh sweet potatoes, right? Again, just take a raw sweet potato, wash it really good, wrap it in foil, 400 degrees on parchment paper for about an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, depending on how big they are. But put parchment paper, because look at this.
It sticks.
Right? You'll be cleaning all that burnt sugar off of your tray if not. Or put aluminum foil down over the whole pan.
That's
that
my
way
favorite.
Just easier cleanup.
First of all, I want you to see that really deep, dark orange color. The deeper, darker your fruits, your vegetables, your grains are, the more antioxidant value they're going to have. So your carrots and your sweet potatoes have this really deep orange, which is giving you a lot of what's called beta carotene, which is exactly what is in the egg beaters, by the way, that give it that orangey color. And the beta carotene is super rich in vitamin A, which is an antioxidant. The other thing I always like to tell our guests about sweet potatoes that I think is helpful is that they have a beginning and they have an end. So when they're over, they're over. So it's really, you're not going to probably sit there and have two sweet potatoes, right? But sometimes things like pasta and rice, if you have difficulty with them, they kind of go on and on. But things like sweet potatoes and corn on the cob, they have a beginning and they have an end. So they're just a good way to kind of gauge yourself in terms of how much you should be eating of them.
And try using other sweet potatoes too. I mean, we use a potato in the back sometimes, a purple sweet potato, right?
And the boniato or?
Well, boniato is a Cuban sweet potato, which has a white flesh on the inside, but a purple one really will kind of vibrant, makes a very vibrant color to your dish. This is a little bit of low-fat cream cheese. I had about 6 ounces here total. I probably won't even add it all. And again, this is going to serve probably, we had 5 whole sweet potatoes. You could probably get I'd say, a good amount of servings out of this. We won't even put it all.
And another thing that is really important to note is that we are really watching the amount of fat that we're using here when we're cooking. But to note that a little bit really goes a long way. So if you want to have good flavor, you don't have to use the fat-free one because it's not going to give the same mouthfeel. But if you just use the lower fat one, you're going to have lower fat, but you just use a little bit. In terms of the concentration of the fat, it really spreads it out very nicely.
Exactly. And like I said, we said, it's probably about like almost 8 servings in this when it's all said and done. So you got a good amount right here. Now, if you want to put other spices in here, if you want to use also maybe like low-fat or fat-free sour cream in here, and that would be a good alternative as well. We're going to turn this on in a couple of seconds. Look how creamy it's getting on the bottom, right? That's why I'm going to put it... I can't like screaming over this. It's so creamy on the bottom. That's why I want to do this, though, right? Because it's very stringy, the sweet potato, right?
Right.
Obviously, the cream cheese needs to get spread out and dispersed. It's kind of hard right from the fridge. So these here now, let it keep on going. It's going to get super creamy and smooth. That's a great way.
All throughout the...
So it's almost there all the way. But
would you ever possibly mix both the sour cream, a little bit of sour cream, and the cream cheese together?
Yeah.
Just whatever you're in the mood for.
Yeah. I think the cream cheese adds more richness to it, honestly.
It's
just by
thicker.
Itself.
Thicker.
So
it's amazing you didn't have to add any liquid or anything to that.
Sweet potatoes have a lot of moisture in them already, So if this was a regular potato like this, do not put this type of potato into the food processor, right? Just to mash it up. It makes it very gummy. This will not happen to this type of potato though, right? So keep that in mind. When we mash up these potatoes, we're going to use a whisk. I'm intentionally not using a whisk here because it keeps it stringy, whereas this here gets that stringiness really blended up smooth and creamy. All right. Now, if you wanted to use your food processor, it would work even better because you really need no liquid with a food processor. You wouldn't even have had to probably wipe the sides down once like I did there. So let's go ahead and portion this out here.
Look at the thick and creaminess of this stuff, man. It looks awesome. How much am I portioning out?
Fill the whole bowl. We'll try it out.
Okay, let's do it.
Let me get some spoons to try this.
I cannot wait.
Oh, you got to fill the bowl up, Kara. Come on.
All right.
I mean, where are we going with this bowl here? Where's my little pittance here?
This is how I roll, chef. You always got to tell me to add more spray, add more potato.
Fill the bowl up here. Make it look.
Fill the bowl.
Now, if you want to just dust this top with a little cinnamon like that, makes it a little simple
Make
garnish.
it a little fancy.
Here you go. You want to try this out?
Let's do it.
You see how creamy that is?
So creamy and thick.
Try doing this also with butternut squash, right? If you take butternut squash and split them in half, skin on, and roast them, take the seeds out of the bottom part of it, but split them in half long ways, and then roast them with the flesh, with the skin side up and the flesh side down. Spray a sheet tray, roast them for about maybe 45 minutes at like 400 degrees, and then you can mash those up the same way. We'd have to take the skin off, but it's a great way, to kind of
and then you just add a little broth and make a soup out of it too.
You can do that too, yeah, of course.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's delicious. Now,
so creamy.
Again, we didn't put any seasonings in there, so you kind of build that up. I would usually put cinnamon, but just kind of showing you what you can do with this. Throw a little cinnamon there, the allspice, clove, nutmeg, ginger. It's all good.
But I have to say, even with nothing in it,
just those two ingredients.
Just those two things.
It kind of, it's like a blank canvas at this point. You can add even a little lemon juice in here, kind of bring a little more tanginess into it, whatever it may be. So we'll move this out of the way. Let's check our stuff and muffins here. We'll see where they're at. They're probably not done yet, but we'll just check them. Our corn's probably just about done though. You can see that this is coming along kind of where this one already was. I could probably take this another 5 minutes or so, but I'm just gonna pull it out now. All right, so let's go ahead and make the roasted corn dip. So make sure this isn't the hot pan, right?
Are we shucking?
We're shucking.
We're shucking.
All right.
Got some practice at the shuck.
While you're doing that, what I'm going to do for our roasted corn dip is go ahead and take a little of these tortillas that I have here. This particular brand is from Maria and Ricardo's. This brand here is a great way you can get that traditional tortilla, but still keep it healthy, low in sodium as well.
Again, it's 100% whole wheat.
Correct.
Yep.
Now we would consider a half of these as a serving size. So when you cut
They're
these up
rather
into
large,
chips, yeah, I mean they're pretty big. Cut them up into chips, you may wind up cooking a whole entire tortilla and then eating the whole thing as a chip, and that's kind of what we don't want you to do.
And Chef, do you know what we always say here at Pritikin whenever we're going to eat a more high calorie dense food? We got to put something in front of that. What would that be?
Well, here we have our corn dip, but you can use a guacamole, you can use vegetables as a stick,
Vegetables.
Yeah.
That's
use vegetable sticks and tortillas, chips.
So the point is that whenever you're eating something like a tortilla or something that's a little bit more calorically dense, you want to front load that with some vegetables.
Yes.
So that will help ensure you to eat less of their tortilla, but still, get to eat the tortilla, not have all the guilt that's associated with it.
Exactly. And look, I mean, we would normally serve this dip that we're going to make usually with a little bit of celery and carrot sticks, jicama sticks. We use candy cane beets here and all types of good stuff.
So we go to the veggie first, and then we go to the tortilla. Well, no, then we go to the soup, and then we go to the tortilla. So you could do that at Thanksgiving too, guys. You can have some veggies or salads up front. Maybe serve a soup, so that by the time you get to the turkey and the stuffing, you're not all that hungry anymore.
Exactly.
I'm going to spray this sheet tray. I'm going to take these, I cut these up in kind of like, almost like a pizza, but almost in like 16 triangles here. Makes it all consistently even, easier to kind of stack onto the tray. Just baking these by themselves are a great way to do this, but if you want to go ahead and even season them, I'm going to take a little bit of my Pritikin all-purpose spice, which has a combination of paprika, granulated onion, a little bit of coriander, and a little bit of dry parsley as well, and dry oregano. So I'll take some of this seasoning here, and if I just season this, it's not going to really hold on to the chip, right?
Right, you need a little spray. I know. Light hand.
I should have let you do it. So if you want to use something like our Southwest chili seasoning, if you want to use our all-purpose seasoning, whatever it may be, and they all have a lot of flavor.
Just don't add salt.
Add some sort of flavorful spices that don't have salt in them, right? Let's get these in the oven. Not even 10 minutes. These will take at 400 degrees to get crispy. All right, our stuff and muffins are still finishing up. Our potatoes are probably done here now, so I'm just going to go ahead and check those, and we'll start making our corn dip. A little bit of pressure. Rashes apart. Those are ready. Yes. So turn that off. I'm going to take this lid, tilt it like this, and strain the water out. You don't need to go ahead and get a colander dirty just for this. Make sure there's no water in here when you're trying to mash these potatoes up. So these are just all been strained out, and we'll just hold them in there for now. I'm actually going to keep the lid on there so they stay hot. We'll just hold them. We'll mash them up in a second. We need to make the corn dip. Our corn dip is going to be utilized not just for the chips, but we'll go ahead and mash that into our mashed potatoes as well to make roasted corn mashed potatoes.
Wowza.
If you want to keep just plain mashed potatoes, I'd take a whisk, start mashing these up right now. Take a little bit of low fat or skim milk, and we also use a little bit of fat-free sour cream or low-fat sour cream if that's all you can find. Take some roasted garlic if you wanted to, a little bit of tiny bit of Dijon mustard here, and just mash that up, and it has a great amount of flavor in it. So whatever you want to use in your potatoes, try to keep it healthy, right? Because if you take that little slice of butter, it's like 100 calories that you're incorporating, and most people probably put in this amount, at least half a
lot.
stick. You know?
That's the thing.
So that's the thing.
You need a lot, exactly. And the other thing that I would say about how you're making the mash with the corn, I think it's a really good idea because the corn is actually a little bit lower calorie dense than the potato. So you're diluting the calorie density a little bit by adding the corn to the potato, which is a great idea. And also in terms of mouthfeel and satisfying that, it's going to be really nice to have these little pieces of corn, the texture and everything, because the truth is that when we eat, we like to eat with our eyes, and we also like to eat with our mouthfeel. So you're giving that texture, that sort of fat mouthfeel, but you're not really adding a lot of the fat. So it's a really great way to enjoy your food and be, mindfully eating it and saying, wow, I really love all the textures and the colors in this meal, and I feel good about what I'm doing.
So folks, what I'm doing here is I'm just taking some of this corn and I'm cutting the end off right away, initially like this, so that way it's not like wobbling around like this as I'm trying to cut the kernels off. So when you're roasting the corn in the husk, it's very easy to pull that husk off and all the string and that silkiness comes off with it. Once you have it cooked and cooled down, we're cutting it off of the cob like this. Once it's cut off the cob, I'm reserving this to scrape the back of the knife, or excuse me, use the back of the knife to scrape this, and all this little extra creaminess has a lot of sweetness and flavor.
Yeah.
So
you're also getting the nutrients from the liquid in that as well that you're infusing into your mashed potato.
There you go.
It's awesome.
Any way we can do this to get more flavor, more nutrient value, it's always a win. So just that, about 6 years of corn, we got all that out of there, right? So a lot of flavor there. So a food processor is what we're going to use next. This particular machine that we're using here is from a company, we're making a mess. This particular machine that we're using here is from a company called Ninja. And Ninja makes a model here that has not only a food processor and a blender, which we've used already, but it also has a little bullet blender as well. And they all fit on this one motor here. So it's a great way to have a lot of different things. You get this little bullet blender, you get a food processor, you get a tall blender, and it's like $150. This particular model is BL770, and I love it. I always recommend it. I think it's a great game changer, and just kind of efficiency and just having a lot of things that you may need and not kind of stored away in your cabinets because you're like, oh,
it's just one, yeah,
all in one thing. Now, what we normally, let's check the chips.
Fat-free, guys. And one thing I would say, there's certain things, like I said, cream cheese doesn't always work well when it's fat-free, but the sour cream.
It's great. I mean, honestly, most people wouldn't even know there's a difference if you're using regular low-fat or fat-free.
It really
the
does.
mouthfeel is very, very similar.
It's great.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put some of this in here to add more flavor. This is really, again, kind of like one of those blank canvas things. You don't need to go ahead and overthink it. Just simple kind of flavors, like just putting this little bit of lemon in here. And chives is what's going to really amplify the flavor and everything else. Take this, hold the cut side up. That way the seeds stay inside and the juice comes pouring out. If you want to use something like a pair of tongs as well, you can go ahead and get a pair of tongs. Hold the cut side up again and juice that juice right into here. Very effective and easy. And cover the cut side. So again, no seeds can escape and you're not getting juice squirting the camera guy into the face here, right? So we use probably not even a little more than one lemon. I didn't even squeeze this all the way. That's going to be enough. They're all pretty juicy lemons. So we'll take this and we'll add some chives into it.
Getting some vitamin C in there.
I'll tell you what, my wife loves chives. This woman would probably put chives on like oatmeal, on anything she could think. Maybe not oatmeal, right? But
that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting. But chives are a great way to get a lot of extra little mild onion flavor without kind of overpowering a dish here.
Agreed.
So if you want to use the green part of scallions, that's also a very similar flavor, but this is much more milder. So this is great for baked potatoes. Just add a little bit of into a dip if you wanted to. Putting this as a garnish for sauteed vegetables, that has a lot of flavor right there. All right.
And plus the beautiful color, the yellow with the contrast of the green.
Exactly.
It's all great.
So a little bit of this low-fat, or excuse me, fat-free sour cream. Let's just get another spoon here to scoop this out.
So I know you know by eye in terms of measurements, but what would you say you're adding?
I'm putting about a little, almost a cup here of sour cream, maybe a little less. Because ultimately, you know, we want this to be nice and creamy, right? And just the corn alone isn't going to do that. So we'll put about, 3 to 4 ounces of cream cheese, the low-fat cream cheese, and we'll just blend the heck out of this again. So the chips got a little dark.
We got a lot going on here, Chef.
They're still usable, but they are a little dark.
I think they look perfect, actually.
We just call them little
crispy.
caramelized chips. All right, so let's take our corn dip. That's
Look
done.
at that.
Simple,
Look at
easy.
that. So creamy.
Right, this has a lot of flavor going on to it. I mean,
no salt, by the way. We didn't add any salt. Just want to remind everybody that.
okay.
Beautiful.
Look at those. And again, not even, 15, 20 minutes at the most. If this was a casserole pan, this thing would be
take
still,
an hour.
it'd still be cooking,
Yeah.
If you're limited on oven space because you have a big amount of things going on that day, try using, if you have like a little small toaster oven, like a little mini convection oven, those are also great to do things like this, or hold things to keep them warm, whatever it may be. All right, so we'll go ahead and take our corn dip here. You can take a few extra of those remaining chives, just kind of sprinkle on top here. We'll take some of our chips and we'll just kind of throw them into the bowl. If you want to shingle around the whole entire bowl,
We
you
also,
can.
by the way, could put some carrots around there as well.
We could definitely put some carrots around here. Just showing you, everyone knows
just
celery and
telling you
carrot
guys.
sticks and vegetable sticks. But if you want to keep these, instead of opening a bag of traditional, we won't say the brand, but traditional,
Pita chips. I know what you're
tortilla
talking
chips or pita chips,
I know
whatever kind of those
I know who
salty
you're talking about.
processed chips. These are something you're making yourself, and you can make these a day in advance. Keep them in a Ziploc bag, so that way, again, not something you're always doing a day of. Potatoes are still very hot. I didn't mash them up yet at all, but I will now. Again,
with a whisk, you use a whisk. Okay.
You have to depending on
What about that mash? That
these things are goofy,
you don't
right?
like those?
No, look. I mean, just use a whisk, right?
All
This
right.
is a piano whisk, which is going to be you can bend it more, right? Usually there's either two kinds of whisks: ones that are very bendable like this, ones that are very rigid, right? I always like to use the more flexible ones. Kind of bang that potato out of the center so it doesn't get locked into there. Make a little bit of a mess here, and kind of do this on the edge. So you're getting it all pulled away from the edge and it's all getting mashed up, right? You're not getting any pockets that are still kind of stubbornly kind of sitting there. But depending on how mashed up you want it to be, you have to do that before any liquid goes into here. Because once liquid goes into here, you're not going to be able to get it mashed up any more than that. So whether you're putting your skim milk or your sour cream, you have to do it as creamy as you want it to be before anything goes into here, right? So I like to use just a little bit of granulated roasted garlic. Has a lot of flavor, right?
Nice.
That, a little bit of skim milk, a little bit of low-fat or fat-free sour cream, you got mashed potatoes healthy,
Done.
Today we'll go ahead and we'll add this corn dip into there. Now I have roasted corn mashed potatoes.
Love it.
So if you want to kind of turn one thing into something else, it's a great, easy way to do that. If you want to kind of amplify this yellow flavor, or excuse me, this yellow color, you can add a little bit of turmeric into here, right? And now you got really yellow potatoes. It almost looks like artificial kind of, but it would definitely kind of amp that color up even more. A little bit more into there.
But I love this idea. It's really going to give the mashed potatoes this more of a chunky kind of feel to it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Change it up. You feel it because I don't feel it enough. I know. Oh my God, that looks so good.
Let's try this out. We'll try out the regular corn dip by itself. I didn't bring any vegetables today. I'm sorry.
Okay,
but I trust me, I have a lot in the back.
normally, just as a rule of thumb, whenever you serve the bread chips, it's a really good idea to surround them with vegetables.
Yeah, veggie sticks all the way with that. Like I said, putting some radishes, putting some jicama is a great one to try using.
The jicama sticks,
celery, carrots are always, always a winner. But whatever it may be. All right, so let's try this out.
Okay, let's do it.
And then we'll try out our stuff and muffins. And I mean, we've been in here for, I guess it's about 40 minutes or so, but we have a good amount of things that we've accomplished. And all we had already done was just a few things like the potatoes already
I
peeled.
cannot believe how quickly you did all of this. It's really, really impressive, I have to say.
Planning, time management. Everything that I had in front of me wasn't just there, right? It all had to be set up as well. So,
Exactly.
There's certainly, that to take into account. All right.
Okay, are you ready? Here we do.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. Super creamy. Love the chives. Love the corn feel.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Kara, let's try our roasted corn dip here with a little bit of a chip.
Okay. Let's do it.
These chips are, they're sharp, so be careful when you, they are.
Cheers. Really,
Good.
really good. What a great appetizer.
If you want to put other things in here, if you want to throw some chickpeas into here, want to throw some, roasted shallots into here, other herbs, maybe putting lime as opposed to lemon, whatever it may be. There's lots of things you can do to make it more flavorful in your own kind of, way.
And the ones that you like.
Exactly. All right, so let's try out our stuffing muffin here.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll go ahead and pop that
Having
right
an
out.
early Thanksgiving.
It stuck a little bit, Kara. You didn't spray
Oh,
it
I didn't
enough.
spray enough. I didn't spray
Let's try a
enough.
different one. It was coming out, but that one
Oh,
popped
there you
right
go.
out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're popping out. That one was stuck just a
And
little
and
tiny
that's
bit on the edge.
such a perfect size. I love the whole
Yeah.
muffin tin idea. Are we cheering? Cheers.
Cheers.
I really taste that rosemary in there.
Yeah.
That's delicious.
I love
No
it.
salt added, tons of flavor, 100% whole wheat bread.
Yeah, and try changing up the recipe, depending on what you like. Use other aromatics, like I said, using fennel, using some carrots into there, using obviously
Leeks.
other herbs.
Leeks would be
for
good.
sure. Yeah. I mean, so all it was just sauteed onions, celery, and garlic. We added the rosemary, the sage, the thyme, the oregano. We added some chicken broth, and we added some egg beaters, folks,
That's
and
it.
scoop it out. It's not hard to do, and you can certainly keep it healthy and keep it flavorful. From our
Way to
house to
go.
yours. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy.
Folks, if you like this video and you want to see another cooking demonstration, click here. If you want to listen to our podcast, click here.